Welcome back to another video. I went through the blessed task of watching and rewatching all the Christopher Nolan films just so I can make a YouTube video that almost no one will watch. But before I start, I just want to say that I think these are all fantastically entertaining, if not perfect films, and they are ranked solely on my level of personal enjoyment. So let's get to my ranking. Following tells the story of a struggling young writer who starts following strangers around the streets of London to find inspirations for his next novel, and the film covers his descent into the criminal underworld when he fails to keep an appropriate distance. Even though this movie had a super low budget, like most Nolan films, the film feels ambitious and it is executed perfectly. The performances by an amateur cast are poor, but the rest of the filmmaking aspects are effectively carried out considering its budget. More interesting than fully appealing, the film is an engaging low wattage debut from an outstanding craftsman. Insomnia is a remake of the Norwegian film that came out in 1997, and while it shares the exact same plot, I thought Christopher Nolan made a well-crafted psychological thriller with some solid performances. Both Al Pacino and Robin Williams are the two leading actors here that no doubt make Insomnia work. Pacino's collective dishevelment with his particular character and Nolan's sharp direction and striking visuals are definitely the most substantial aspects, which all officially managed to make this film to be solid and entirely compelling in the end. Visually speaking, this movie is fantastic. The film was really intense at times due to the brilliant camera work and cinematography, which is super impressive. I do really love Hans Zimmer's score, and I really enjoyed how it was literally playing all throughout the movie and would progressively get more and more intense depending on the situation. However, Dunkirk doesn't rely on dialogue to tell the story, and I believe that's why it fell a bit flat for me. Nolan once again creates a fantastic film which, while lacking in some aspects, more than makes up with a moving soundtrack, phenomenal visual effects, and a true story of heroics that captivates you with a greatly satisfying ending. Batman Begins is a complete reboot of the Batman film franchise and has no relation whatsoever to any of the films that came before it. It's a fresh take on the Caped Crusader that takes its premise far more seriously than ever before and aims for a much darker and realistic tone. Not only does it offer a better insight into the life of Bruce Wayne and what motivated him to become a city symbol of heroism, this action thriller makes the existence of Batman seem much more logical. This was my Batman growing up, and it's because of this film that started my love for superhero lore. Batman Begins is a highly gripping, extremely entertaining, and immensely satisfying film that feels more like a quality psychological thriller that just happens to star Batman. Memento is without question masterfully crafted and notably well made in just about every way, thanks to the deft and imaginative direction from director Christopher Nolan. Basically, this film immediately puts him on the map, and for a solid reason too. In high school, I tried to watch Memento several times, but couldn't get past the first 10 minutes. Then I came back to it in college, and I found myself in disbelief at this crazy take on a serial killer film. The themes of memory, loss, revenge, and trust interweave and layer on top of each other, which makes the film both thematically important and satisfying. I need to rewatch many more times to bump it up, but for now it will stay at 7 for only seeing it once. I will not lie, I was let down when I first saw Tenet in theaters. Nolan gets so wrapped up in the premise of Tenet that he forgets the audience is seeing the film for the first time, almost like a professor explaining a topic trivial to him because he studied it for years to a group of people completely unfamiliar with the subject. But once I went back to see it for a second time and everything fell into place, I was utterly blown away. Tenet is packed with abstracted images rather than the usual Nolan route of going out of his way to explain or reorient the viewer to what's on the screen. The scale, scope, ambition, spectacle, and concept are all there, and they are all exciting when in full swing. Ludwig Göransson composed the score for this one, and it marks the first time in a while where Nolan and Zimmer do not work together in a film. Görassson's score did its job of putting loud music with bombastic tunes and intense percussion to fit the thrilling action blockbuster, which I think is the reason it is so high on my list. I loved every second of his score. Like a few of Nolan's films, they get better as you watch it more. You learn more and understand it more, especially when it has somewhat of a complex plot. The first watch blew me away from an action standpoint, and the second time blew me away from a movie perspective. The Dark Knight Rises is epic in scope and takes full advantage of its staggering runtime. It's not only a sequel, but it truly ties into both previous films and brings all three movies together as a true trilogy. This is without a doubt Christian Bale's best performance as Bruce Wayne. It is a surprising, character-driven film. Tom Hardy as Bane is such a badass. Bane turns out to be Batman's most formidable foe in the trilogy. I love how much he shows Bruce Wayne struggle with who he is and who he has to be. The script and direction may be flawed. There may be many undeveloped areas, but The Dark Knight Rises is an ambitious and majestic conclusion to a gloriously cohesive and grounded trilogy of heroism and corruption. It's grandiose, overblown, and insanely audacious, but I wouldn't have it any other way. The Prestige is a story of friendship that becomes a rivalry which later turns deadly. The plot concerns two renowned stage magicians in London near the end of the 19th century who engage in competitive one-upmanship in an attempt to create the ultimate illusion, but their increasing obsession to best each other's tricks eventually leads them on a path which culminates into devastating consequences. Constructed just like the magic tricks used in the film, The Prestige is a joy working out its sleight of hand and clever form. Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, in their roles as hero and villain, protagonist and antagonist, are constantly shifting as they're both as equally flawed as each other. Christopher Nolan's direction, while more subtle and intimate than some of his later works, is absolutely incredible. Dark, gripping, cleverly crafted, and delivering hard on twists and turns, The Prestige is one of the more underrated and overlooked efforts from the acclaimed filmmaker. Interstellar shook my inner being to my core. Visually, everything about it is astonishing, and the incredible shots of space are breathtaking. Interstellar works not only because it builds itself around important moral questions, but it works because of its sense of hope and humanity. It is a film about the direst of situations, but its narrative and thematic motor is fueled by the ideas that are deeply connected to hearts, minds, and souls. The film's design creates a lived-in world full of recognizable artifacts and fantastic elements. Interstellar is an ambitious, beautifully rendered science fiction film that finds as much hope and love as it does in science. The performances are all tremendous, specifically McConaughey. Because of the incredible attention and direction by Nolan, you feel deeply for these characters because they are all richly developed and focused people. A transcendent and moving experience. Interstellar is a masterwork, a film of timeless beauty, endless innovation, and it's one of my all-time favorites of Nolan's. The Dark Knight is sadistic, grim, and bleak. Christopher Nolan's command of technique is impeccable as every moment coils in ever-increasing tension. Real-world fears give the Joker some actual weight as a villain. He commits acts of terrorism, like blowing up a hospital, and scare tactics, like making a hostage torture video similar to those crafted by Middle Eastern terror groups. He is a truly terrifying on-screen presence with how spontaneous he is. And I still can't see Heath Ledger behind the makeup to this day because he completely encapsulates the character. It's an extremely smart and well-played superhero film, but doesn't sacrifice a lack of thrills for a good story or well-developed characters or beautiful cinematography. It's catastrophically and chaotically awesome. From its iconic characters, its themes, its action set pieces, it's one of the most powerful scores ever written, and the incredible ending and effective dialogue. Almost every aspect of this film is a highlight. This is a masterpiece, a classic, and one of my favorite films of all time. Now, when I was making this list, I struggled between putting The Dark Knight at number 1 or this, but I just can't shake the feeling at how this original action thriller could be so damn perfect, but it is. Everyone has one of those films that you see when you're younger and you can't quite appreciate it, but you know that you've seen something remarkable. It wasn't until I rewatched Inception earlier this year that I realized how remarkable it truly was. Inception brings this principle to the next level by taking an original concept and delivering it to an audience so neatly and effortlessly that many have begun to think there's actually not much there at all. It is a wall-to-wall entertainment built around a concept which has something unique and interesting to say. The set pieces are highly impressive, the cinematography provides depth and perception to the whole picture by making effective use of the camera angles and movements while also capturing each moment in meticulous detail. The editing beautifully synchronizes the various subplots taking place within different dream levels, and the visual effects are breathtaking and admirably comes with minimal use of CGI. And let's not forget the haunting, hypnotic, and absolutely stunning Hans Zimmer score. Inception is a feverish and roaring masterpiece by Christopher Nolan, and personally, I believe it's his best film, period. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below what other movies you would like me to do videos on. Thank you, Mom, for editing my movie essays for my videos. I appreciate you. Till next time, thanks for watching. Catch you on the flip side.